In this video tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to add a blog post to your RoofWebs website. All of the websites that we build come with a blog built in that will automatically categorize and place that blog post anywhere or where it's actually supposed to go within the website. Remember that we are using Mozilla Firefox browser to log into the back end of your website. From here, we're going to go to the bronze sample and we'll click on our blog, and it's going to show, we typically put in one blog post for you to show you where it goes, and then we encourage you to add as many blog posts as possible about your projects. Talk about what you did on each project and also where you did it, so that it's relevant not only to the city that you're working in at that time, but also all of the roofing and renovation things that you're doing to that particular house or commercial building, whatever it happens to be. So in the back end of the bronze site, we'll start here at our control panel, which shows right after you log in. And then we're going to go to Content and Article Manager. And we're going to pull this up again, and it shows a complete list of all your articles. Now, this is the first opportunity we're going to have to actually deal in categories. The only difference between an article that shows up on the front end of your website as a page and a blog post, the categories are different. So within your website, you'll have multiple categories, and you can select the categories from here. If I select just the roofing blog category, then it only shows me that very first roofing blog that we put in there, okay? And that's in the roofing blog category. If I go back and click select category, then it shows all of them again. And you can also dial it down to just the My City Roofing or whatever you happen to have within the back end of your site. So let's, the first thing to remember when you're starting a new blog post, obviously have your content ready to go. Whenever you get in there, you don't want to take too long to do it without saving it. We talked about that in the how to change the content of your article tutorial earlier. But from here, to start a new blog post, we're going to use this button right here. It's called New. And what it's going to do is it's going to open a brand new article. You can see it has no content in it whatsoever. So within the title, you have to give it a title, and we're going to type in Test Blog 2. Now the alias is automatically going to be filled in whenever you click the Save button after you've put some content into it. So we're not going to talk about that quite yet, but we will come right back to it. Now your category for any blog is going to be roofing blog or whatever variation you happen to have within yours. Your status is always going to be published. The access is always going to be public. The featured is always going to be no, and the language is always going to be all. Now you do exactly the same thing that we did in the article, or changing the content of an article, I believe was tutorial 2. And essentially you're going to type all of your content into this box. And then you can go down, it basically just add your blog post. You're going to type about the project that you did. You're going to type about the materials that you used. You're going to talk about the area you did it in. Make sure that all of that is completely understood, because the search engines will take all of that information and they'll wrap it up, and they'll, it'll be relevant to your area, to the content that you're putting in there. And that's important because content is always king. You can do all of the SEO things in the world that you want to, but if you're not updating your website, it's just not going to get any better in the rankings. So you need to be updating it. Add all of that in there. I recommend that, and if you've ever talked to me on the phone, I recommend that you do a blog post a week at a minimum. If you can do more than that, then do more. I don't recommend that you do more than one per day, although it's not going to hurt you. It's better to do one every day than to do 3 in a day and wait a month to do another one. They need to be spaced out so that the search engines are coming in, they're looking at your site, they're indexing it, they're checking your sitemap, and then they come back in another length of time and they say, oh, goodness, there's new content there, so I need to come back more often. So you can essentially tease it into coming back and checking it. There's a reason why when something is breaking news and you hear about it, and then suddenly you go to the internet and you do a search about it, those news websites will automatically show up in the very first part of those, in the part of the search results, because the search engines are going and checking those websites, every half hour or even more often than that. So be sure that you're putting content on your site on a regular basis, not dumping a whole bunch on there and then waiting a year or 6 months or even a month to do it again. Do it on a regular basis. Now over here on the right of this page, you'll see that your publishing options, leave all of this blank. Your article options, you don't have to do anything there either. Your configure edit screen, you don't have to touch that. Images and links, you don't have to touch that. The metadata options, you'll want to write a meta description. You'll want to write your keywords that pertain to that article. So type things like Indianapolis roofing or whatever your city happens to be. Put that in there. Meta description is essentially a title of this article. What's it about? It is a one-sentence description of what this article is about. You don't ever want to overload on keywords. I recommend that you do some research and figure out what a meta description looks like, how it works, and what your keywords ought to be. And of course, if you have any questions on that, certainly give us a call. The content into this box, we're going to go back over here. We're going to go ahead and I'm just going to center this. I'm going to turn it into a heading 3, and then I'm just going to go down here and type information. Okay, so then I'm going to, and you don't have to do any of this, but I'm just going to copy or paste it and paste it and paste it. And what this is going to do is going to show you how it adds it to the next blog. Now, if you remember, we go back to our blog. We just have the first one over here. We go back to the back end and we click the Save button. What's going to happen is going to save it into the database just the way we have it in our content box here. And then we go back to the front of the site and we refresh the blog. And the new one shows up on top and the old one gets pushed down to the bottom so that your reader has the newest content showing first. Now it's also updated the sitemap, which is here. And your sitemap is going to reflect all of the pages that you have listed in here, and your roofing blog is under that sitemap as well. So you're doing several things, and it actually does it for you automatically. Now this page actually shows up as its own page, so it has its own unique URL up here at the top, and you can play with those. The way you play with those is back here. We were going to talk about the alias. You'll notice that this has changed itself to test-blog-2, and on the front end, if you look at this link, it says test-blog-2. So what that's done is it's created a search engine friendly URL out of what you typed in the title box. Now you can always change the alias to reflect whatever you want that link to be, so that it's even more search engine friendly. I don't recommend you make it this enormous link that just makes no sense, but put 3 or 4 words in there at the most. 2 or 3 is probably better than 4. 2 or 3 words in there with dashes in between them, and it'll create its own unique URL for that. Now remember, any changes that you make, click the Save and Close button. If you make mistakes, click the Close button and it will not save anything in that. Now clearly we do not need this blog. One more thing before we get to this part, but you can add images in just like we did in the Add Image to Your articles. Scroll through, you upload here, go back and watch that video if you don't remember how. So you could put a photograph of the project that you were working on. You could put a before and after. Just remember that before you put those into the article, you actually resize those so that they'll show up on the page properly. 500 pixels wide is a good place to start. So because we don't need this actual article or this blog post, obviously it shows up on the front end and it's just not necessary. And I'm not going to leave it in this sample of the bronze site. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click Save because I've already saved it. It's in the database. What I need to do is I need to find it. So I know that it's test blog 2. I scroll down here, I see that in alphabetical order it says test blog 2. The way I'm going to get rid of it is I'm going to click on that button, the little checkbox next to it, and then I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top, and I'm going to click trash. And it's going to dump it into the trash. When I go back to my blog on the front end, it'll no longer show up. Our first blog is the only one there. So once you've put it in the trash, it no longer shows up. Remember, you're again using Mozilla Firefox browser. I can't emphasize that enough. Go over when you're finished and click your logout button. That is the easiest way to add a blog. Again, do it often, as often as you can possibly stand to do it. We have customers that can go in and whip these out in, they're doing them in 10 minutes. So if you can take 10 minutes once a week, that's a fantastic thing to do. I highly recommend it. And if you have any questions on writing your blog or you have any trouble with it, give us a call at 800-761-3560 or shoot us an email to sales@RoofWebs.com.